my name is Ulana Bounnak, and welcome to my presentation for Management 640 Workplace Diversity. I will be presenting my project on workplace mistreatment. This is Vanessa. I used to work with her in the restaurant industry. Vanessa is a black, confident woman. Her personality is super bubbly, kind-hearted, and she was really good at her job. One day she came into work sad or mad and wasn't herself. I asked what was wrong, and she told me that it was nothing. The next shift I saw her, she was back to her normal self, being very talkative and open with everyone. Then the next shift, she was back to being sad or mad again. This has been going on for at least 2 weeks. Then finally, she pulled me aside and asked if I could follow her to her car. I asked why, and she said she'll tell me later. Once we got off work, she confessed that one of the senior servers would not stop bothering her and would sometimes follow her to her car. After she told me this, I immediately wanted to tell my manager, but she said she didn't want to bring attention to the situation or have any problems at work. I respected her wishes, and I guess one day it got really bad to where she had to call off of work, and the next day she quit. I just wanted to point out the mistakes that she did in the situation. Vanessa didn't want to report the situation to a manager or HR. She left without reason. I felt like she was hiding or run away from this problem. She wasn't utilizing her rights, and this could have really affected her mental health without actually knowing. Sexual harassment and mistreatment still happens in the workplace. Here's a chart showing some sexual harassment charges by industry. And if you can look at the services, it is highest for charges in female labor forces. And 14.4% of African women who file for sexual harassment charges. I wanted to focus on Black women because I wanted to help managers and people like Vanessa to understand how to deal with issues like this in the workplace. Therefore, my question is based around this whole presentation is how do Black women deal with harassment or mistreatment in the workplace? My first example is from the Ulana podcast. It is about a Black woman named Ulana who dealt with harassment, mistreatment, and discrimination in the workplace. She didn't report the issues to HR right away. One day, Ulana explained one of her upper management saw her diligence and promoted her. She dealt with the same issues and kept holding her tongue back. Then she saw other employees being mistreated from the same managers that she was being mistreated from and volunteered to train those new hires and teach them their policies and rights. Finally, Ulana filed claims to HR later on and left the company with a serious mental and emotional health. My second example is that women experience greater levels of sexual harassment. Since sexual harassment is about powerful people in the company like to harass more vulnerable employees, i.e., women, minorities, and younger people. My third example is in the customer service industry and how they promote customers are always right. But what happens when harassment is involved? When some women fear retaliation due to speaking up, the culture that created this idea of customers always right and don't enforce the issue. But most of the time, customers aren't always right. So why should managers care about this issue? Appropriate and effective feedback will help target women or men from harassment or mistreatment because it can lead into negative consequences for individuals, for example, physical and mental health and career trajectories. It is important to remember to catch these issues before anything harmful or threatening to an employee and or the company. Reason number 2, sexual harassment can and will impact the workplace culture negatively. It will affect employees' morale and can also cause productivity to decline. Also, businesses' branding and overturn rates can increase. Reason number 3, sexual or harassment or mistreatment can come from different factors that include race, appearance, sexual orientation, working styles, and more. As a manager or individual, by enforcing and reminding others that this is unacceptable and lawful. So, what causes this issue? Cause number 1 can be lack of training. Managers need to lead by example. If managers do not educate the importance of sexual harassment, there will be harassment in the workplace. Cause number 2 is lack of communicating to others or upper management due to fear or job loss. For example, like Vanessa. Cause number 3, men lack power. This can be due by the lack of confidence or mistreatment of others of some sort. This is caused by anger and would most likely take their anger out on someone who is more vulnerable. For example, women of color, minorities, and younger individuals. So, solutions for this issue. Solution number 1, organizational leaders should design a system to handle sexual harassment in the workplace by hosting and informing all employees in the organization. Any policies regarding sexual harassment will not be tolerated and will have an investigation before filing the actual complaint to upper management. Employees who are involved should provide different ways of filing the formal complaint or charges, for example, going straight to HR. Solution number 2, for women of color dealing with harassment or mistreatment is to be able to speak up to upper management and communicate the issue. The importance of being a bystander. Intervention cannot be excluded if you or a coworker observes an employee being mistreated. Encourage the bystander. And then lastly, solution number 3, managers should always enforce or offer sexual harassment trainings every month or quarter to enforce and refresh employee memory and morale. Organizations should set clear goals and have specific sexual harassment policies that are going to focus each month. Demand zero tolerance environment for employees. This wraps up my presentation. Thank you for listening.